Hi, everybody. Welcome to Statistics Solutions 7 Secrets to Completing a Dissertation in 1 Year webinar. Before we get started, I'm just going to scroll real quick to the end, just because it has our contact information. We're a full service dissertation consulting company. We help with editing. We help with, basically giving you the feedback you need and helping you address the things to move the documents forward. We help with statistics. And we will come back to this page at the end with contact information, but we just wanted to, encourage you to, it's free, no obligations, consult to just see what we offer, see if that's right for you. In the webinar chat box right now, we have our co-host putting in links to our website, also links to the website where we archive this webinar and other webinars. So they will be archived there, as will this one, and you will receive copies of this webinar, the slides and the audio. Okay, so let's get started. We'll have a question and answer session at the end. So I'm not going to stop to answer questions as we go along. But if you do have questions as we go along and you want to remember it, you don't want to forget it, just type it in the chat box, but we'll get to it at the end. All right, great. So let's get started. All right. So 7 secrets to completing a dissertation in 1 year. It can be done. It's challenging, of course. Because the dissertation is just a long process. It takes perseverance. Sometimes there's, hurdles that we can anticipate. Sometimes there's, things, impediments that we can't control. But here are the tips that we have if you want to try to, get your dissertation done in a year. Again, you just have to be focused and kind of disciplined and motivated. So first thing, and this is a little different than what I would suggest if you had more time. Start with your research questions, develop your research questions. That's really the kernel of the whole study, right? That's really the foundation. Everything goes back to your research questions. So if you can kind of develop those or begin to develop them early on, that will help you get a jump on things, because then you can kind of show it to your chair, your mentor. Here's what I'm thinking about. What do you think of these? And sometimes they can greenlight, they'll greenlight you just based on your research questions, that you have those down. If you had more time, I would say focus on the research problem first, and kind of develop that by looking into the research. It makes them organically, out of your classes. But I think kind of swapping priorities here when a time crunch would help you out. Develop the research questions, then you can kind of work on developing the research problems. So setting up the research questions, along with that, you're going to be thinking about your methodological approach, right? So do you want to go quantitative, qualitative? Is there something your chair prefers? Is there a strength that you gravitate toward one over another? Does, maybe what you want to look at, does it lend itself better to one approach or the other? So those are some kind of questions you're going to want to try to start addressing when you develop your research questions. Your methodological approach, the constructs that you want to measure, right? If you're going to do a quantitative study, or if it's qualitative, the phenomenon, what are you looking at? Your participants, your sample, your data collection procedures, all these things are going to be tied into your research questions. So you want to start thinking about those. Obviously, at this point, you're not going to be able to nail them all down, but you're going to want to start thinking about them and thinking about how they relate to the research questions. And at this early point, your research questions, you you could edit them as you go along, right? You can kind of develop them, but start thinking about the RQs and getting them down early, as well as the things that go with the RQs. Like I said, the approach, theories, constructs, participants, data collection procedures. Okay. And then it says that third item there, take a deep dive into the literature. Okay, so again, this is a little backwards. You're going to start with your RQs, then take the dive into the literature, because at some point you're going to need to justify your study, right? So you have the RQs. Why is your study needed, right? Now, usually, once you have the RQs, you can usually find, kind of tweak out a research problem. Somebody may have conducted a study similar to yours, but look at things like different populations. Maybe your population is different, hasn't been studied before. Maybe you're using a different instrument or a different theory that had normally been used, or looking at something in a different way. These are all ways that once you have your research questions, you can kind of massage a research problem, right? To some way to make your study unique. Okay, so that's in the literature. So look into literature, see what's been done on your topic, and look for those little niches, those little gaps that, again, maybe it's the population, maybe it's something else, but something that will make your study different and unique and sets it apart from something that's already been done. Okay, next. Develop a timeline and a methodology. The more detailed, the better. Because if you got to have a year, I mean, your short-term deadlines and a timeline is going to be crucial, right? You can't just kind of wing it. You're going to have a plan, which would include things like, let me see what we have here. Okay, so we have a question. I'm going to come back to that. We'll come back to it at the end, and we'll go back to that slide. Okay, so part of your plan, make a detailed timeline, make a plan. If you have to work with your mentor or your chair, maybe do that. Let them know what your goals are. See if they can help you develop some kind of realistic time frame or a timeline. It says work on the IRB early. Okay, so the IRB, the Institutional Review Board, sometimes people can get snagged in that, especially if you're doing like, vulnerable populations, right? Minors, your participants are minors, or they're incarcerated individuals, or they're individuals with mental impairments. Those are vulnerable populations. So that going through IRB with those populations takes time. There's just no way around it. So if, just familiarize yourself at this point with the IRB process and do anything you can now to facilitate that when you actually get to it. So that's kind of looking ahead. So, and you're going to have to do a little bit of that too when you're working in this, shorter than normal time frame. You're going to have to think ahead and work ahead when you can. So check out the IRB, what it entails, check out the process, especially if you have a vulnerable population. And I would say if you want to get done in a year, try to make it such that you don't need to, unless you absolutely have to study a vulnerable population. Maybe just not even consider that. Practice time management. This is important, right? Time management for anything, especially if you're working under the gun, you're working under a deadline. Time management in any aspect of life is crucial, especially here. You need a plan, you need to stick to it. So effective time management is crucial. Block time on your schedule for writing. This is just like anything else that you want to, if you want to get something done, let's say you want to get into shape physically, well, you need to put the time into the exercise, right? You need to, whatever you're going to do, you're going to ride a bike, you're going to jog, you're going to go to the gym, you're going to swim. You can't say, yeah, I want to get in the shape and then not do anything, right? The same thing here. You can't say, I want to get done and a year my dissertation and not have a plan to sit down and write every day or every other day or have some kind of methodological regimen. So block time on your schedule for writing, and you have to keep it. That's the thing. And I know we all have lives, we all have jobs. I get it. But like I said, it's like anything else. If you want to accomplish it, you have to put the time in. So some people set word counts, 600 to 1,000 words a day. Keep it flexible. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be 1,000 every time, but have a range. And this is what professional writers do, like fiction writers. I mean, they write every day. That's why somebody like Stephen King can have a book out, it seems like every week, but they write every day, right? Because that's what they are. They're writers. They're active writers. So you kind of have to adopt a similar strategy. You have to write every day, or at least regularly, right? If it's not every day, it can be every other day, or you could take a day off during the week. But you need to have a regular schedule and commit yourself to getting something done, 600 words to 1,000 words. If you don't want word count, maybe you can do page count, right? A certain number of pages, or even it can be a time goal, right? You don't even have to, because sometimes you're not even writing. Sometimes you're just doing research, or you're just thinking about something, or you're doing an RB form or something. So you could calculate it in time, right? I need to spend, 2 hours on my dissertation a day, or an hour on my dissertation a day. So whatever works for you. I would say at least it needs to be at least an hour, because sometimes, by the time you get into it, you get back into, you get your train of thought again, and you get your head all in the space it needs to be. Sometimes that takes 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. I mean, sometimes it takes an hour just to start to get productive. So I would recommend at least an hour. And again, just should be regular, right? And keep it. Again, I know we all have good intentions like that sometimes, and something comes up, and it's like the first thing, easiest thing to do is like, oh, I won't work on my dissertation today. I got to do this. Well, that's going to push you back. So just keep that in mind. Create a step-by-step list of your methodology. This will help when you actually get to the methodology section. So the idea with the methodology is your methodology should be so worked out and so detailed that if you gave it to somebody who wasn't familiar with your study at all, they should be able to read your methodology and replicate it. Right. So in other words, it's like instructions. It's like a recipe. So it should be that worked out and that detailed. So you need to think about who your participants are going to be. What instruments are you going to be using? If it's quantitative, what procedures? How are you going to store information? You need all these things, right? They're part of the methods. So if you can start, again, forward-looking, start creating what you're going to do for your methods early, a step-by-step list at this point is good. So when you get to the methodology section, you have an idea, right? Then you can start fleshing things out. Okay, let's see, number 3. Anticipate recruitment, participant recruitment process and challenges. Again, this goes a little bit back to vulnerable populations. If you are going to include a vulnerable population, like I said, minorities, folks with mental illness, incarcerated individuals, veterans, I mean, not veterans, military service, active military service. I mean, these things will have extra hurdles, these participants. So if you do plan on studying, including one of those in your vulnerable population in your study, you need to anticipate that extra time, right? So any kind of things that might be roadblocks or potential impediments when you get there, you want to think about that, especially in recruitment. even if it's not a vulnerable population, do you have access to the people that you need to have access to, right? You need to think about that. And if not, have contingency plans, have a plan B. It's usually always good to have a plan B for almost everything, right? So, and participants and your recruitment strategy, the same thing. What if you can't get these folks? What if you can't get access to the folks you really want to? Have a plan B. There's also services like SurveyMonkey that will do the recruitment and the I'm trying to say the surveys for you. So, if you're going to use one of those services, you want to check out what they offer and how much it costs and those kind of details. Talk about your ideas with others, see if they have other ideas and see if they have plan Bs to help you out with. So communication, obviously your chair, the main person to be in contact with about all this. So try to anticipate any kind of challenges or things that might take time, like once you get there. Okay, and this is for the whole, this really pertains to the lit review, but yeah, mostly the lit review, but also the rest of the study if you need it, but mostly the lit review. Utilize your school's library resources. Utilize any resources really, but for your lit review, one of the most important resources is a reference librarian at your school, right? So you should have, if you're enrolled, you should have access to the library of your school online. And when you have to search for material for the lit review, and even for chapter 1 or whatever, avail yourself of the help of a reference librarian. I mean, and don't feel weird about it, like you're imposing, or it's part of their jobs, right? And if you go online, sometimes, you'll see the box come up on the screen that says, can I help you? Or do you need help? Or sometimes there's places where you can make an appointment with a reference librarian, make the appointment. But they can help you. They can help you narrow your search. They can help you keep you focused on what you need to search, right? Which is material related to your constructs and your variables and your factors. You have to remember that the lit review is not kind of a general paper. It's not like kind of a general discussion on your topic. It's focused specifically on what you're doing. And ultimately, as you review the studies, as you analyze the studies on your topic, you're also showing what's in the research, but you're also showing what's not in the research. So, ultimately, the lit review, in a bigger sense, creates an argument for your study. It creates an argument for your research problem, right? By showing what researchers are focused on your topic and what they haven't, right? So hence the need for your study. Create a table of evidence. Let me pull one up here. If you don't know what that is, let me just show you. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I don't want that. Sorry. Let me get this back to where it was. All right, I'll just put it back in the edit mode. That's fine. Okay, this is annotation checklist, but it's a table of evidence. So what it is if you see these columns correspond to major parts of a study or an article, right, that you would say be reviewing for your lit review. We have the author's name, right, title, the purpose, just brief. These are just notes for you, right? So this is, you're going to pull out the important, when you're reviewing the literature, you see an article that you might want to use. Do this work where you have the evidence table, a brief description of the purpose. What kind of method did they use? Okay. What was the sample? What was the population? What variables? What did they actually study? What did they look at? What were the theories they use? What were the research questions? What, very important, what were the findings? What were the conclusions? If they made any recommendations for further research, you can include that here. And I would also include one more column, probably just like notes or strengths and weaknesses or something, where you can put a note to yourself. Hey, this study was really good. It was really on target, but it was missing, it didn't focus on what I focused on, or, this article wasn't so good, or the study wasn't so good. It had weaknesses. It had a low sample size or something. So any kind of, notes that will help you remember why the study was relevant to what you're doing will help you when you come back to it, right? Then you do that for one study, you move down, you start another study, start another row for the next study and continue on. And what this does is, because in the lit review, you're going to have a lot of information, you're going to have a lot of studies you're going to have to review. This pulls all the pertinent information out that you need about the study. And then when you have it all, you can kind of go in, and when you start writing, you can put these details in. So this is what an evidence table is. Okay. And you can just create, some people use Excel, some people just use a Word doc like that, whatever you feel comfortable with. There's also citation management tools. Whoops, I'm sorry. One is called EndNote. One is called Zotero. There's another one called Mendeley. Look these up, see if some people use them, some people don't. They help. They can save time because they help you kind of manage all your citations, right? Because you can have a lot, at least 20, 30, 40, maybe more. So, having a way to manage them, keeping them organized, is going to be helpful to you. It's going to save time. Okay. Yeah, there are two other, they're not really citation management tools. One's called, let me see, I'm going to put it in the chat box here. One is called, let me see, Research Rabbit. Okay, and the other one is called Connected Papers. Oh, hold on. I think I need to change who can see these things to everyone. Okay. Research Rabbit, everybody got that? Connected Papers. Okay, yeah. And these are online. They're online platforms. I think Research Rabbit is free. I think Connected Papers you have to pay for. I'm not going to give you a tutorial or anything. They do have tutorials that are much better than I could do. But really, what they are is they're not reference citation management tools like the ones we're talking about here, Zotero and Mendeley and EndNote. They're more of conceptual maps, like you enter an article in and it pulls up the article and it shows you its kind of relevance pictorially, graphically in relation to other articles on the topic. So it can be helpful. You just check them out, see if it's anything that you guys that you would find useful. Okay, get organized with your reviewers. Just be aware of expectations. So your expectation as a student, just probably go to the the grad school handbook, the PhD handbook. What are your expectations as a student? What is expectations of your professors as far as things like turnaround times, feedback? Just get to know the process. Some schools give professors 2 weeks to turn things around. Some schools don't have any guidelines. But just see what those are, and they can help you especially when you go to set a timeline. Set deadlines. We talked a little bit about that. I mean, set them with your chair too. Obviously, if you miss a deadline, that's fine. I mean, it happens once in a while. You don't have to feel bad about it. Just tell your chair, hey, sorry, I missed it. I'm going to get it to you, in a few days. But the last thing you want to do is fall out of touch with your chair because you're afraid of them, or you're afraid to tell them something, or you didn't hand something in when you said you would. It's okay. It happens. But the worst thing you can do is just fall out of touch with them, right? Because that's going to that's going to waste a lot of time. So set deadlines, work with your chair, communicate with your chair again if things change, because things do change. Just talk to them. Get written feedback. I think that's pretty standard now. Most chairs, they will either meet with you via Zoom and give you written feedback, or just give you written feedback, but written feedback is pretty standard. And it's part of the process. We need to understand that too, that you're going to hand something in and you're going to get feedback on it. I mean, some people think that their things are going to go through the first or second time, and it's like, that doesn't happen. Partially because, in part because that's part of the process. I mean, they're telling you what you need to do. They're kind of teaching you to some degree through the comments, right? Okay, this isn't really flowing here. You need to set it up this way, right? So expect the comments. It's part of the process. Address the comments as best you can, send it back. They're going to have more comments, and then you just do it until you nail it down. But yeah, keep organized with your reviewers, and keep in communication, open, positive communication. And I know sometimes reviewers can be difficult in the sense of, their schedules may not mesh with yours. They may take time to get things back, but do your best to stay positive and work with them. Unless there are real problems, and that's a different issue. Keep perspective. Seek out positive reinforcement. I mean, the dissertation it's tough, and it's a test of perseverance, really. And if you're going to try to get it done in a year, which again is doable, just stay positive. There's going to be times when you just, you don't feel like doing it anymore. You don't feel like you can do it, or it's just, it's just too much. Seek support when you can, whatever support, that is, can be from your reviewers, can be from, an outside party like ourselves, friends, cohorts, colleagues, peers. So, and stay calm, right? I mean, it's okay to be, anxious, because, it induces anxiety, but try to, have strategies to calm stress, to reduce stress, but maintain a strong vision of you completing your dissertation, right? Maintain that vision of the end goal. And, stay in balance, work-life balance too, keep a positive attitude. And it says take breaks here, the third one. Yes, you can take breaks, right? You don't, a well-deserved, there's nothing better than a well-deserved break, right? If you've been working hard, you're where you need to be, and you're a little burnt out, then take a little break, it's fine. I mean, we need breaks. Again, if you deserve it, right? I mean, if you've been working hard, it's okay. And it may be actually more productive in the long run. You come back a little more fresh, and not so depleted, which can help. In number 7, delegate tasks. So anything, this is, if you need to hire a statistician, I mean, I am not a statistician. I am the person in the company that does that helps with research and theories, and the editing, the words part, not the numbers part. If you need a statistician, hire a statistician. Consultants, that's what we do. APA editors, we don't do that, but if you need an APA, we can put you in touch with them. If you need an APA editor, these folks go from top to bottom with a fine-tooth comb and look for APA issues and formatting issues. I mean, that is worth it right there. Transcriptionists, if you are conducting qualitative study, and you have interviews, right? And you have tape recorded interviews or interviews recorded on your phone or electronic device, however you recorded them, you're going to have to get them onto paper, right? And transcribing it yourself is not difficult. It's just time consuming. It's kind of tedious. I don't think transcription costs that much if you get the service, but I think it's worth it because it's going to save you time and probably some headache too. So delegate tasks, get help if you need it and if you can afford it, of course. Some people have access to graduate or undergraduate research assistants. If that's the case, obviously avail yourself of their help. And delegating tasks goes right into us, right? And again, here's our contact information. We offer a range of services, editing, statistics help. We help with defense proposal and final defense PowerPoints. There's basically we help you develop the document, whatever it is, whether it's the whole thing or part of it, into a whole, into a submittable document. We also help with once you get comments and feedback, we help you address that. So that's who we are. I know I have some questions, so let me get to those. I'm going to leave that up. Okay. All right. What is the difference between a research question, aim, and problem? The definition seems to vary widely. It's a bit confusing. Yeah, a research question is it's really the guiding question. It's really the information that you're seeking to get. Okay, what's the difference? An aim, some projects have research aims, like smaller projects. What is the aim or what is the objective of this research? Usually a dissertation, a social studies dissertation, that's a study, has research questions. Different kind of projects, like, I don't know, maybe a project study, some of these, or sometimes nursing studies. Studies that aren't as big as a dissertation sometimes have research aims. And again, they're kind of the objectives. They're the things that the information that you want to get from your study to answer whatever question it is, or to address whatever issue it is that you're seeking to address. The research problem is different. The research problem it's like it sounds. There's a problem in the research, or there's an issue in the research, or there's a gap in the research, right? So a research problem is something in the research that's not conclusive or not settled, right? So it can be a gap. We don't have knowledge on a certain population, on a certain topic. We don't have it for whatever reason. That's a gap. That's a kind of a research problem. We have a lot of quantitative studies on a certain topic, but we have very little qualitative research. That's a kind of a research problem. And then your study could be, qualitative, designed to add more qualitative information and understanding to the topic. That's different than quantitative approach. So that's what a research problem is. And then the research question is usually the questions that are designed to get that information that you're looking for to address the research problem. Okay. And those are kind of big concepts, all of them. And again, if you go to our website, we have blogs on all the several blogs on each one of these, and also resources and also descriptions. So go to our website. That will help answer your questions too. I hope I kind of started to. Here's another one. Can you expand on working with vulnerable populations? Is that not important research to accomplish? Yes, of course it is. It just depends. If your research questions and your research problem, they warrant getting that information from a vulnerable population. Yeah, of course, it's very important. But having said that, because they are vulnerable populations for whatever reason, they're minors or whatever, the institutional process that you have to go through to be able to do research on them or include them in your research, you're going to have to jump through more hurdles. There's going to be more red tape because essentially the university is liable, right? If something happens, during the research, the university is responsible for that. So they have to make sure that all the kind of ethical guidelines are being adhered to. And there's even more ethical guidelines because they're vulnerable populations. So having said that, yes, of course, it's very important research. It's not to say that it's not. It's that if you're in a time crunch for your dissertation and you don't want to go through those extra steps at the IRB process, you might not want to choose a vulnerable population. Or if you do choose one, just be aware that you will have those extra steps. Okay, let's see, I had some other in here. Question, most schools offer RefWorks. What's your opinion on that? I don't, if it works for you, fine. I mean, I haven't, when I wrote my dissertation 100 years ago, I didn't use it. And I know people who do use it and who find it very effective and helpful. I can't speak personally to it, but I mean, try it. If it works, I would say use whatever works for you. If it's Mendeley, fine. If it's RefWorks, fine. And even sometimes people don't even use them, but they'll use, even if you don't use a management, some kind of system software, at least manage it on your own, right? Have a couple lists. Here's research I'm thinking about using. Here's research that I have used. If you add stuff, add sources, add it to your reference list. If you say, I'm not going to use this source, take it off your reference list. So this document, so the reference list is something that's, always changing, but keep up with it, because you don't want to not keep up with it. And then at the end go, oh my God, what did I include? What did I take out? I don't remember. I don't know. Then you're kind of in a pickle. So whenever you do, include new sources or take new sources out, at least track them, keep up with them. And that's what these part of what these reference management programs help you do. Okay. This was helpful for me to find connected papers. Okay, good. All right. I'm doing a thesis by publications and required to publish 3 articles. I've been identified as risk for candidate since 1 year, still unable to publish article, doing content analysis studies to publish, but it seems like this is not really good publish. I heard that you charge. I'm not sure. Okay, the person who asked that, if you want to, I'm not the person to talk about money, because I don't know. But just set up no, it's fine. Just set up a consult. Just get in touch with, somebody will get in touch with you, and they can talk to you about money and what you need and what your needs are, and if it's right. So yeah, I would just suggest talking to that a salesperson, and it's a consultation person first, and they'll be able to answer your questions about that. Yep. Thank you, Sarah. Okay. Okay, good. All right. Any other questions? I think I covered them all, or tried to anyway. Any other questions? Any advice on submitting to IRB? I mean, do what they're asking. I mean, I don't know if there's any other advice. Usually it's a form. Make sure you have, everything filled out they're asking for. If you need help, I would ask your chair. I really don't have any advice. I mean, it's really not, there's really no strategy to it other than just, they they need certain information from you. And you just need to provide that information. We will tell you though, if you're looking for, the easiest way to get through IRB, and now this shouldn't be what, dictates what you study, but I'm just saying it's a consideration. We talked about vulnerable populations, which will take extra time to get through IRB because there are extra safeguards in place that must be addressed. The easiest to get through IRB is if you do archival data. That means data that's already been collected and it's in a data set, and you're just going to analyze, certain piece of information from that data set. That usually goes right through IRB because there's no human participants, right? You're not surveying anybody. You're not giving them questionnaires. You're not interviewing anybody. You're just looking at data that's already been collected. So archival data or secondary data, that's the easiest to get through IRB. Hope that helps. Okay. About charges, yeah, would just go ahead and make an appointment to talk to somebody, to consult somebody about our services, and they'll be able to give you charges and fees. I don't know any of that information. Okay, here's somebody that says have patience for IRB, find who the reviewer is and have an honest conversation with them. They need to become your best friend for a while. Good advice. Great. Anybody else? I mean, it can be done. Dissertation in a year, it's challenging, like I said, but people do it. And remember too, there's things outside of your control too. I mean, there's things in your control that you want to do your best on. Sometimes, we can't control how long it takes reviewers to respond. Sometimes it takes them a month, sometimes it takes them 2 days, right? Sometimes, professors go on vacation, professors retire. I hear this quite a bit. My chair retired, now I need to get a new chair. So there's these things like this that are unexpected, or that, again, that are outside of your control, that can kind of throw a wrench in your timeline. So just keep those things in mind too. Okay, great. If there's no more questions, I'll let everybody go. Especially for everybody, but especially for the folks who are talking about charges. Just go to the website, see what we have. We have resources, we have blogs, we have descriptions of sections and research questions and research problems. But also, if you're interested in just finding out more of what we offer, again, it's not obligatory. Just schedule a consult, see what we offer. Great. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. We offer webinars on all kinds of other topics, chapters, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, methodological webinars. So just check our webinar schedule, see what we're going to offer. All right. Now I wish you all the best of luck and thank you for attending. Have a nice day.